Is it rolling? Alright, cool. Okay. Welcome, everyone. Mainly just Miss Bolt, but welcome to our first installment of Two Bros, One Film, a series where we pick a romantic movie, and today this is Silver Linings Playbook, and we basically talk about how it affects teen love and how it affects our perceptions of teen love. So I'd like to welcome my colleague Diego Castillo here.
Hello there, I'm Diego
And
Castillo.
Alex, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi.
Alright, there's Alex. So we just finished watching the movie. As you can see, we have some pizza and some non-alcoholic beverages.
Non-alcoholic.
Non-alcoholic. But we almost cried. It was
very good.
We really loved the movie. And
Absolutely.
what we're here to talk about today is, although it might not be a teen film of some sort, the reason we picked this film is because, in the movie they're portraying 20-something-year-olds, and as soon as we, leave this place, that's us. So it's the real reason why we influenced this movie. So we would like to, the main part of this podcast is to talk about how the film translates to real life. So what we're going to talk about first is, how did the movie impact you?
It was a beautiful film. First of all, the story, the setting, everything was beautiful. Jennifer Lawrence especially, but like the way the film works is like two messed up people. Well, there's a lot of messed up people in the film, but like two especially, and it shows you like that anything can happen. Like even though they weren't expecting it. We weren't expecting it. It was such a beautiful film at the end of the day. That it shows you like everything can surpass the odds and Excelsior and all that good stuff. So I really liked it.
I think what I really took away from that too is just the idea of like love conquering all. Like there was like a large amount of like, not, I wouldn't say obstacles, but I would just say situations.
There was situations
that came up in the movie, and I just think like, the mental issues, like all the bets the dad was placing.
The affair.
Like, the affair. Oh, the affair, of course. But yeah, that's, I think, one of the silver linings that we should have gotten from this movie was in fact that love can basically take a lot of shit. A lot.
You gotta work for it. It's not something that's freely given. You have to work for it. Like both of them had to work for it at the end of the day before the other one noticed it, and showed a lot of effort.
They didn't know. I guess they didn't know they loved each other until they saw how much work they put in.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I think another thing too is like how they bring in football to this and how they bring in dance to this.
They're relating all their life situations to like their own relationship. And that's what really brought them together. Because like the dad, they wouldn't have the family's approval had it not been for like the football betting and all that stuff. So that was a way for like the family to get involved. And then it drew like more pressure onto the relationship to make it work as a partnership. And then from that partnership, something grew.
I like that. So now, I'm going to ask you a very deep question.
Okay.
How would this movie affect you when talking to your love interest? How do you think it would affect you?
When obstacles, like a lot of we're in college, there's a lot of things that pop up. They're like, oh, it's just a fling, or it's just like they don't like no one's looking for anything serious anymore because like everyone's just like very casual relationships these days. It kind of just like when you want to put yourself out there, it's always kind of like pushed back, and that's like and there's a lot of different obstacles you have to overcome to finally get them to notice you these days because there's a lot of like stigma against like putting yourself out there a lot because if you do it too much, it's like being too pushy and stuff like that. And they were both willing, like no, like in the film, like they didn't want to like no, they didn't say nothing clicked until the very end, and there was a lot of obstacles that put in their way. So the way I felt is like there's so many obstacles in your way, but don't be afraid to like just keep going and just pursue them at the end of the day. And if hopefully it'll work out. Life finds a way.
Life finds a way. Do you agree with, I guess, kind of what the movie is saying? Like maybe the right person isn't necessarily. Like, do you see what
the way I saw it is because the wife was constantly. They mentioned it several times. The wife was complaining about the weight. The wife was complaining about his weight, and they were just drifting apart. But the way I felt is like Jennifer Lawrence just accepted her. Just accepted him. Just like for all his faults, for all his like his mental illness and stuff like that, they accepted each other for their faults and they completed each other. Both of them were messed up and they fixed each other.
I think it's different to see like building on the messed up thing. Not necessarily that they're messed up, but maybe that they were both in certain states that they could relate to. And like I think how this would really affect me would be like this kind of makes me believe that maybe it's not the right person that I'm trying to look for. but it's the person that's just as crazy as I am. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like just finding like not someone who maybe our family thinks is right, not someone who fills in A, B, C, or D, but just kind of the person that like you dance with in the studio one day. You know?
Don't afraid to go look outside the established criteria for a partner.
How do you think about that, Alex? You like that one?
Sounds pretty good.
You can't see it, but she likes that one. She likes it. That's good. So how do you think? You know what? Okay, I'm gonna ask you a deeper question. Define the word love.
Giving and taking everything at the same time.
Explain.
In my past, I've had a couple relationships, I'm not gonna lie, but like they've crashed and burned because I kind of didn't realize that you have to be willing to give them everything unconditionally, and at the same time you have to expect it too, because if they're not giving it back, then it's just a one-way relationship, and you gotta like realize that, and that's what it's very hard sometimes. Like you have to be willing to like, you know what, they're having a hard time right now, I'm having a hard time right now. I'm just gonna be there for them, and be willing to like, at the cost of yourself a little bit, give back. But at the same time, if something goes wrong and they're never there for you, then they don't care for you enough, and there's someone out there who's better for you.
What would you say is, I guess, kind of one like the feel, or what makes you know that you're in love with someone?
Communication. That's the way I've always seen it. Like the way we talk, the way we act around each other, like even like body language. It's just like okay, if we go somewhere, are they gonna be hanging around me, or are they gonna be hanging around with like other guys, or are they gonna be hanging around like, oh, I'm gonna we show up together and then we just go in different ways and then we end up leaving together. It's just like the way we act together, and the way we talk to each other, and the way we interact with each other. That's the way I've always seen it.
I like that.
Communication is key.
So communication, the overarching foundation of love. I agree with that. I love the idea that a relationship technically doesn't need to feel binding. Like it should, a relationship shouldn't feel like, oh, I have to text you.
Exactly.
Oh, I have to Snapchat you. Oh, I have to Instagram DM you. Oh, I have to go buy you this. I have to go buy you that.
Just being together is enough. Like they're in a room, you're in a room. You don't have to be talking to each other as long as you like the presence. That's the presence.
I like that. I think defining love in one word, like I don't think it's like, I mean, you know, flowers, chocolates. I like that, but I think like. Well, first of all, I think our society has, well, not our generation, has misconstrued the idea of love. I don't think
there's a lot of cliches a lot to it.
I don't think it's technically the word love. I think it's more of like
lust
and culture, the way like I guess women are portrayed, that adds to it also.
It's more of like a chasing game now.
Exactly. Like, oh, I'm gonna play hard to get, or I'm just gonna like, oh, I'm gonna be like being too prideful. And they're not willing to like put the effort in or like put themselves out there. And like sometimes whenever like, okay, there's the guys who put a little bit too much effort, even though they can't accept no, and then they think a lot of themselves. And then other people who just like, oh, I'm gonna play hard to get and never gonna put like, you know, never gonna accept it. And it ends up backfiring at the end of the day.
I think that's one thing that's kind of exemplified in here. Like when all the guys that come to her at the bars and they show up to her house, like you just kind of see like, oh, so, you know, like those guys are normal and those guys are lawyers, but like that's not.
That's not love.
Yeah, that's not love. I think that's one of the big takeaways from this movie is the idea that like that love isn't just walking up to someone at a bar and asking them for a drink and taking them home and then 1 date, 2 date, 3 day, oh look, you're married, oh great. Like I think love doesn't come from, well, not necessarily dating, but I think love comes naturally. It comes from the person that we never thought we would see, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It comes from, let's see. How can we put this in terms of the movie? Like of course he had his wife, but did he love her? Yeah.
I think he was more in love with the idea of her. That he, like, it's like his life, that was like his entire past before he got, like, he was diagnosed with bipolar. And he always considered like, oh, that he was like the piece of his past life before he was diagnosed. And that was like his normal life. And then like after he lost her, he kind of lost that piece of his life, like the normalism. And then like, she helped him realize that being normal at the same time doesn't mean being happy, and that she kind of opened up the world that you can be different and at the same time be happy and find someone who truly loves you despite everything that you're going through.
No matter what.
No matter what.
Love. That's what we're about here at Two Bros, One Film.
Thank you.
So, overarching themes for today. Love finds a way. Love isn't necessarily in the form of the right person. and love isn't necessarily walking up to someone at a bar.
Absolutely.
I think that's one thing, I guess, us teens, for lack of a better term, can take away here. You know, we're starting to grow up into this bar culture. We're starting to grow up into this clubbing culture. And I think this movie is a call to action on not to grow up into that. It's to love in ways that we haven't loved before.
Absolutely.
I like that.
That's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to give a huge shout out to Alex for recording us today. And also want to thank Ms. Bull for allowing Two Bros, One Film to start off our plan. We're trying to get this to go worldwide, where two bros can come together and talk about romantic movies, you know? When's the last time you saw two bros do this?
They don't let people do sensitive things anymore.
They don't let people do sensitive things anymore. But well, that's all the time we got today. I'd like to thank Mr. Diego for joining us.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you, my good man. I'd like to thank Alex for recording once again.
Thank you,
And
Alex.
we will see you next time on Two Bros, One Film.
Thank you. Bye.